good afternoon. Good morning, in fact. As Katie said, in this session, we'll be looking at the social, economic and environmental drivers for consumers when considering sustainable ways of living, with particular attention paid to how people feel about the Right to Repair Act, buying second-hand appliances versus new, and adopting smart technology to enhance more sustainable lifestyles. Right now, sustainability is well and truly cemented at the forefront of consumers' minds. As awareness of climate change and the impact of our carbon footprint rises, spending behaviour will continue to depend on energy efficiency and manufacturers' use of sustainable materials in production. But it seems that people still need a bit of guidance and to be better informed. Research by Electrolux found that almost 30% of consumers don't quite understand how they can make more sustainable choices or gain a better understanding about the products that allow them to be greener. And are consumers considering safety in their purchase decisions? Or do they trust manufacturers and suppliers to sell only safe products? We'll be hearing shortly from Gunjan about consumer attitudes towards adopting sustainability in the home, especially when it comes to repairability and durability of appliances, the whole product lifestyle and its environmental impact. With the cost of living crisis causing consumers to make cutbacks on their spending, and there's more appetite for second-hand electricals or even renting rather than purchasing outright, how can product safety be managed when so many second-hand goods are entering consumers' homes? You may have seen recently Amdia's renewed call for appliance registration through the Register My Appliance portal to help keep machines in peak condition and on the radar for the necessary safety notifications and repairs. And Glen Dimplex Home Appliances has urged all owners of certain gas range cookers to arrange an urgent modification after a number of cookers were deemed unsafe and could pose a carbon monoxide poisoning risk to customers. So if one of these appliances was sold on second hand, there is of course a huge safety consideration to inform the new owner, and that's where traceability is absolutely key. We'll be discussing these topics further in more detail. I'd like to welcome this morning's panellists to the stage. We've got Gareth Campbell-Julian from the British Heart Foundation, Hannah Lockley from the Office for Product Safety and Standards, and Gunjan Srivastava from BSH Home Appliances. Actually, while they're coming up first, to present data on consumer attitudes towards purchasing second-hand or recycled electrical goods, please welcome from the British Heart Foundation, Gareth Campbell-Julian.
Need to find the clicker. Hello everyone. So I thought I'd start by setting some context, because obviously in a post-COVID era things have really changed. So what does sustainability mean to us at the British Heart Foundation? So to give some context about us, we've obviously had to live with COVID restrictions over the last year. We've got fewer volunteers. So we are a volunteer-led retailer, so we use volunteers to kind of inform and help and prepare our product for us for the sales floor. We've had high level of staff vacancies. We all know about the current economic climate we live in as far as recruitment's concerned. We still have a high level of COVID absence and flu absence within our business. I'm sure you all in the room are also seeing that in your own workforce. Reduced footfall on the high street. The high streets have changed. They've changed considerably over the last year, with a lot of consumer behaviour being changed by COVID, with lots of things going online. And we've had stock shortages of our new goods, which come from the Far East. And again, I'm sure many of the manufacturers in the room they'll resonate with you guys. So what have our success factors been since COVID? We've offered outstanding value. So many of our items are actually below the cost it would actually for another retailer to post it to you. So we can sell things cheaper than Amazon can ship it to you. We've got huge choice, and our product range is continually changing, so we get what you donate. And obviously, if any of you have got spare appliances at home you want to donate to the British Heart Foundation, please find a store near you. We've got community locations, so we have 700 shops and stores, and 200 of them are our specialist home and fashion stores where you can donate electrical goods. There's reduced competition on the high street, so there isn't as many department stores around as there once were, and there's reduced retail outlets in general, which means that we're there front and centre, normally anchoring the high streets as well, where we are. We've got lots of online scalability because we can use effectively all our 700 branches as mini online warehouses. It means we can turn on stock and turn off stock at a flick of a switch. And we have genuine sustainability. Unlike the rest of the retailers, we can sell things twice, maybe 3 times. You know, so you can keep on donating it back to us, and we can keep on selling it. So it's a true circular economy. So how's trade been? So this is a bit of a graph of our trade for this year. I don't know if there's any high street retailers in the room, but if you're seeing a plus 19 on last year, I think you'll be pretty chuffed with that. And that shows us that the customers are really coming to our home stores in droves at the moment. And within that, £9 million worth of our sales will be made up of electrical goods. And that, bear in mind that our electrical goods average selling price is £15. We have to sell an awful lot of units to get to that high figure. And our largest category is white goods, followed by TVs, and then utility items like kettles and toasters and small electricals like that. You may know this already, but this is a typical home store. This home store opened a few months ago in Harrow, and we took over an Argos. So as Argos exit the high street, we're taking over those units. So currently we've got 200 home stores, and we're looking to build those out to about 300 home stores over the next couple of years. So we'll keep on building our estate. But where does stock come from? So I've picked 2 partnerships that we have, which are quite useful. So from an input point of view, we have a partnership with Center Parcs. We also have a number of other partnerships as well, where we go in and we clear stock out from their chalets, and we get lots of small electricals from them and white goods, and then we sell them in our shops and stores. And we have a partnership with Currys on We. So when we can no longer sell the product, we then exit through Currys using a network that we've dedicated with them to set up against our shops and stores. But we have to do this all safely. So we have very strong processes. Every single item of electrical that comes into our stores are all booked in, so we know exactly where it's come from, so which customer it's come from, where it is in our estate. We go through a process of checking recall lists. So every single product that we touch, we check for recall first. We also then do function testing, and then we finally do pat testing. And as it goes through that whole journey, we fill out what we call a passport. So that passport is our register to say that that item has been fully tested, checked, it's safe to go, and it's ready to go on the shop floor and to be sold through. We work really hard to make sure we get it right. And where we can't sell a product, we have lots of recycling and exit strategies as well, including reuse retailers as well. So we work with other parties that will take items we can't sell for whatever reason to then look at refurbishment. So we hope to avoid anything going to landfill. That's our aim. And the reason why we do it, and I'm going to pull on the heartstrings, is the 7 million plus people that live with heart disease in the UK at the moment. And that's the reason why we do it. And that's the reason why I get out of bed every morning for the last 18 years to work with the British Heart Foundation, along with my amazing colleagues out in the shops and stores. So thank you very much. And that's me.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Lastly, in this session for this morning, to look further at consumer attitudes towards adopting sustainability in the home, from BSH Home Appliances, please welcome Gunjan Srivastava.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start, let me just quickly introduce myself in terms of which company and which industry I belong to. So as the name suggests, BSH Home Appliances, pretty much large and small domestic appliances we use in our homes and kitchens. under the brand names of Bosch, Neff, Siemens, and Gaggenau. So pretty well-known names in the country. Also as an industry, why is it so important for us to understand sustainability at home, sustainable practices at home, and the consumer attitudes towards sustainability in general when they are looking for purchasing appliances in the market. So just a couple of data points. Firstly, as an estimate, there are roughly about 170 million large appliances currently in use in 28 odd million households in the country. So that's massive. More importantly, again as an estimate, all these large appliances, which include washing appliances, cooling appliances, cooking appliances, altogether up to about 30% of the entire energy consumption at home is contributed by these appliances. Hence, it becomes extremely important to understand both what's happening in terms of consumers' attitudes and the way they use these appliances at home, and also because there is a large replacement market, what are their attitudes towards replacing when they're going out there and replacing a broken product. So it becomes extremely important for us as a company and also as an industry. What I'll try and do for the next 5 or 10 minutes is to use some of the insights we have using the latest sort of consumer work we've done around consumer attitudes and insights towards sustainable practices and sustainability while purchasing products. Also using some other data to share some interesting insights about the same. The way I've tried to structure the presentation is into 3 parts. So the first part is about understanding, using the insights we have. Are the UK consumers, what is the level of awareness? Are they even interested? How interested they are, if they are, because we as an industry have been trying very hard for the last couple of years in terms of driving the message through. And also to understand what kind of actions they're taking already, when they're looking at adopting sustainable practices at home. So that's the first part. The second part is about understanding what are the criteria consumers are using when they're looking for buying white goods or appliances, whether they want to replace or a new kitchen, etc. What are the sources of information they trust? So that's the second part. And the third part is about sharing some examples of us as a company, as a brand, we are doing to educate, inform consumers regarding sustainable practices, better energy rating, etc. And also share some example which we as an industry body, which is AMDEA, we are doing continuously. And we've started some new campaigns also about how to create more awareness, create more momentum towards these things. So that's going to be the flow of the presentation. To start with the first part. So as you can see on the left-hand side, are consumers aware? Yes. Close to 45% are aware or concerned in some way or the other. This is a survey done by Kantar a few months ago. But I'm more interested in the middle and the right-hand column, which is something which we have picked up as a part of a survey we have done just last month. And that says that almost 70% of the consumers are really interested about sustainability and sustainable practices at home. So that's very encouraging. On the right-hand side again, something very encouraging as part of the same survey. What we realize is that consumers are taking action, whether in terms of reducing food waste, whether in terms of single use of plastic, or whether in terms of limited water usage. All of that you see more and more consumers claiming that they are using these sustainable practices at home. So that's already a good start and gives us hope that some of the stuff we are doing in terms of a company or an industry is finally sort of hitting home. Is this enough? Or how seriously should we take, because this is ultimately a consumer research, a survey. What I would also like to do is to share some more hard data, and this is sales data. I haven't got it in the slide here, but just to share with you, this is data which we get from GfK, which is a body which measures sales at the retailers, whether it's a physical retail or an online retail. When you purchase an appliance, it's tracked. So we know the entire sales in a particular month, in a particular year. So if we compare sales of white goods or large appliances this year versus last year, the first 9 months, and I'm taking 2 examples, refrigerators, which is a big contributor to energy consumption, and washing machines, the other big factor. Now, what we see here in terms of data is that while both as markets or as categories have declined in volume this year, 5 or 10%, the higher energy rated appliances, so for example, in refrigerators, A-rated and B-rated refrigerators have grown more than 300%, whereas the lower rated energy rated products, G-rated, etc., has declined 85. Overall category has declined, as I said, which basically means that even though the number of consumers buying higher energy label products are smaller, but increasing exponentially. Same also holds good for washing machines. So while the lower energy label washing machines are declining at minus 30, 40%, A-rated and B-rated are actually growing at 14 and 16%. So this is more hard data. This is not survey results, which gives us more encouragement that what we are doing is being also accepted and consumers are acting on it. So that's the first part which I was talking about. The second part is about what are the consumers doing in terms of the criteria they use. Clearly, price is still the driving factor, and more so under the current circumstances. Reliability is also extremely important. Again, easy to understand. People want to understand when they're buying a large home appliance, how long is it going to last, is it going to be reliable or not. But the more important thing and encouraging thing for us is that a large part of them are also putting sustainability, energy rating as a key criteria when they are choosing an appliance to purchase, which is encouraging. Also, what is interesting is to understand what are the consumers using as a source of information or trusting. So again, clearly extremely encouraging for us. Almost 49-50% of consumers are believing in the energy labels, new energy labels, and trusting that as a source. They also look for reliability, etc., where they use the reviews which are available and word of mouth, etc. So all in all, encouraging from the way in which the consumer trends have moved in the last, especially 12 to 18 months. But is this all great news? Yes, there is momentum. But what we need to be more concerned about is the same survey I was talking to, the Kantar survey, also says that 79% of consumers still believe that more sustainable or higher energy rated products or better energy rated products are more expensive, which is actually a fact. You do pay more currently when you buy a higher energy rated product, appliance. They also feel, a lot of them, that or prefer, let's say, saving money, or they give saving money currently higher importance than saving the planet. So there is already that barrier which we have to also address. So what I would like to share with you as the last part is what steps are we taking to educate, to inform, to communicate the advantages of using more sustainable and more or better energy rated products in our homes. And just a quick snapshot of some of the stuff we are doing within BSH, or so examples of some of the campaigns or communications we have done in the last months. Clearly, sustainability is at the core of most of the stuff we have done. We are partnering with other organizations like Finish in order to communicate the water saving message when you use a dishwasher, for example. We are also partnering with retailers to communicate sustainable practices. And we are also using a tool called Your Eco to quantify what is the physical savings in money you can get when you buy a better energy rated product. And this is exactly what, as an industry, so this is an industry example. As Amdia, what we are doing, there are many campaigns. This is the one which we started only in September, so it's going on, and will continue next year as well. So again, it's like a saving calculator. If you buy a C-rated product or a washing machine versus an A-rated, what's the amount of money you're likely to save over the year and over the lifetime of the appliance? All this is basically to ensure that consumers get that message, easy to understand. Even if they pay 50 or 60 pounds more at the time of purchase, it's more than sort of covered up in the first year of usage itself. So these are some of the steps we're taking as an industry and as a company to create that momentum and keep driving that. A couple of other interesting sort of insights at the end. I think it's in the last couple of years that this trend has accelerated. If I compare that with other countries in Europe, so the Germany, which is our headquarters, for example, I think the attitude towards sustainability was even 2 years ago higher than what it was here. Maybe the energy costs they were paying was slightly higher than what we were paying here as consumers. But it's good to see that the concern around the increased cost of living, new energy labels especially, these are driving the consumer attitudes towards some more sustainable practices. Great stuff. Clearly, there are 3 byproducts of appliances which we sell and people use at home. It's to do with energy consumption, so obviously we need to make sure that we use less and less. Water saving and food waste, and you saw in my first slide how consumers are getting more aware and using or trying to act on all of these 3 factors. And I'd like to end with one interesting data point again, insight, which is from the National Home Energy Survey a few months ago, where it clearly showed that when it comes to sustainable practices and sustainability at home, it is more the younger consumers, so in the age bracket of say 20 to 40, 21 to 40, who are more than twice as likely to be adapting these attitudes. So clearly, we still have a long way to go to educate everyone in the age bracket. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers for that. We'll cross over to Slido to see if we've got any questions on there that have come in from the audience. Do consumers see right to repair as a positive, effective step towards meeting net zero targets? Wasn't aimed at anyone in particular, so I'll just let any one of you jump in on that one.
I think generally there is a big consideration of net zero. I think when we speak to consumers, it's something sustainability generally is something they're more aware of. And I think they are more aware of products that they are disposing of, whether that be making sure they try and recycle as much as possible or reuse. So whether they consider it in terms of net zero targets, I would be less sure of that. But I think generally there is that consideration of sustainability when finishing the use of their products.
Maybe if I can add to that, so part of the same survey I was quoting, we also tried to understand what consumers, what do they prefer, repair versus replacement? And what we found is that more than 68% of consumers we surveyed preferred repairing over replacement. Obviously, at some point in time, there's a trade-off between repair versus buying a much more efficient appliance because they're probably, their old appliance is 10 years old and technology has moved ahead. So that's something which obviously needs to be measured. But clearly from a understanding and attitude perspective, more and more consumers believe repair is a good thing and as much as possible, go for repair.
Hannah, I think this one might be for you. The OPPS consumer research shows if an appliance repair costing 30% or more, they will buy another one. What do you think is the best way to lower repair costs?
So there is a lot of work I think OPSS are doing with industry to try and improve the availability of repair. I think there's the Commission BSI working on a PAS that's going to hopefully work with industry to provide consumers with better options around repair and to provide consumers with more information. So there is work ongoing to try and lower repair costs, whether that's better availability of parts and recourse to speaking to manufacturers and enabling repair. So that is work that's ongoing through that development of the PAS.
From a manufacturer's point of view, Gunjan, reducing repair costs and parts and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think the cost of repair, when you break it up, you realize that while the popular perception is that it's the spare parts which are the main contributor to the cost. It's also the cost of the technician or the engineer visiting, which is quite high and contributes a lot. So from our perspective, it's extremely important that the first time fix rate is as high as possible. So the first time the engineer visits a home and try to fix the appliance, make sure that the right parts are there, make sure that the diagnosis is right, so that at the very first visit, majority of the the problem can be completely resolved, and that would ensure that the cost of repair is minimized. So we do achieve it, majority of the cases, but we are still trying to figure out ways of making it even more.
Yes. If I might just sort of jump in and add my own point, I was curious about how you work with your sort of retailer network in terms of sort of training the retailers to be perhaps the first point of call if something was to go wrong in the consumer's home. It's usually the way in which the appliance is sold to them in the first place. So, how do you work with your retail partners to sort of get that information across, perhaps in the first instance before a technician is sent in, for example?
So all our retailers are completely aware about the process to follow whenever the appliance is broken and needs to be repaired. The consumer ends up calling either directly us, or they may end up reaching out to the retailer because that's where they bought the product, and the retailer then is able to guide them back to us because we are the ones who are ultimately taking care of fixing the problem. So that's a pretty seamless route, and we are constantly, obviously, in terms of information sharing, communication, it's constantly there. All our retailers are aware, and I don't see an issue as far as that. There isn't any gap as far as that is concerned.
Gareth, there's a question there for you, I believe. How do you independently measure the competence of your repairers, and who is ultimately accountable if an appliance causes an accident or fire? I assume that means if it's sort of sold through your stores, for example.
Yeah. So first of all, we don't repair items that we sell in our shops and stores. So what we do, we assess them before we sell them, and we go through appropriate safety checks, and we do all that with fully trained electricians that do that testing for us. So we make sure that anything we do sell is complete. And we sell it. As far as spare parts are concerned, we may source a kettle lead for something if it's missing a component, but we won't repair it. What we do is we work with organisations that may then take those products on and repair them for us. So we identify a partner for each of our shops and stores where they can have an exit strategy for that product if it's not in a sellable condition. So there may be a local repairer in the town that will take that product off our hands, but we would expect them to repair it and not sending it back to us. They would then put it into their own retail channel to be sold on. So we keep that at arm's length. We are a volunteer-led organisation, and we wouldn't want to put our volunteers in that position where we're expecting them to repair an item and make it sellable. I think you'd all agree that would be a little bit too far a step to ask people that are giving us their time for free to do that for us. But as far as if there was an accident or there was an incident as a result of a product they purchased from us, we would do all the same things that any high street retailer would do. First of all, we'd immediately, obviously, get the item returned, and we'd seek to understand what the problem was. And again, we'd go back through using partners to understand from manufacturers if there was a recall against that product that we'd missed, and we'd look against all the things that we know about that product. And we'd work with the Charity Commission and the appropriate agencies around us to make sure that we learn from that, and we move things forward in the right direction. And that's all I could say really on the matter. It's how any retailer would behave really as far as what happened next.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll stick with you if I can. A very important question about getting consumers engaged in sustainability. What sort of nudges, what can be done around consumer behaviour to get people more engaged around sustainability, do you think?
I think from a sustainability, there's two aspects to it. I think we've got two sort of consumer groups, haven't we? We've got the donor, they're the ones that are really hyper about sustainability. They're the ones that have chosen to donate their second-hand item to us. So their driver for that is doing good. And in our case, it's doing good for heart disease, but it could be doing good with Oxfam, it could be doing good with Scope. There's many charities out there. And then there's always that secondary layer of making sure that product goes on and sees through its full life potential. And I think the donor cohort is really easy and tangible. I think the customer, the person who buys product, I think they're still at that price-sensitive end. They come to us because it's about price, and it's about getting more for less, as it were. So you could go to John Lewis and buy the same thing at full price, or you can come to us and buy it for a third of the price, and that's where people are at the moment. What we are doing is putting marketing messages around things to tell people what it means to purchase from us. So what tangible amount of items are we saving from landfill every year? What does it mean to reuse the item, and what does it mean to our charities to buy a reuse item? And I think that is starting to get cut through now, and people are more sensitive to that. But I think there's still a journey to go on that, really, because I think in the economics we're in, price comes first, and that's the reality of it.
Just very, very quickly, Hannah, just wanted to pick up on something in your research. You mentioned about product repairs, a lot of people turning to kind of online information about repairing things themselves. I mean, how important is it that, that information comes from, trusted sources, is correct, and obviously, the sort of the right thing to do, leading people down the right route rather than, sort of wrong repairs or incorrect or that sort of thing?
Yeah, and it's obviously very tricky to moderate that, and, there's no limit on people who can upload a video on a repair they've done. So it's about informing consumers, I think, about the sources that should be trusted and are safe to use, and trying to crack down on sort of unsafe information that is out there.
Well, I'm sure as with all of the sessions for today, we could talk and go on, but thank you for now to our speakers. Thank you very much.